What's good, YouTube? This video is going to be about how good women are hard to find. Okay, so Chloe Bailey, the singer that's a twin sister to her sister, might be twins, I don't know, but the famous singer and actress Chloe Bailey was on some show, and she was talking about how it's a green flag if a man doesn't answer her phone calls or is unavailable to her. She thinks that that's a green flag to move forward, to start to chase this man. And this goes along with everything I've been talking about for the last 5 years on this channel. This is foolishness. Now, I understand you want some suspense. I understand a person's need for suspense. But when you're playing with your heart, you need to stop chasing suspense and instead chase or consider a genuine presentation of intent. Okay? Good women are hard to find in the minds of a lot of men. And this is the single biggest reason why. Women always ask me, I do a video about games guys play, manipulation guys do, tactics guys use, pickup artistry, all this different stuff that I do to warn you about disingenuous men. We do these videos about how men might trick you, how a weak man might do this, how a weak man might do that, because it's never men in general. I'm always speaking against weak men and upping strong men. That's how I roll. So I'm not man bashing, I'm bashing weak men. There's a difference. But anyway, we do all of these videos about how weak men do this, how weak men do that. Beware of this, beware of that, red flag this, manipulation tactic that, to help you navigate the dating atmosphere. And women always ask me, well, why do men play games? My comment section is full of women talking about, why can't they just be honest? Why can't they just be real? Why can't they just stop playing games? It's because, for the most part, women require games. That's why men have adapted to playing games. A woman who doesn't require games is hard to find. Hell, maybe 3 of 10 women will allow you to just talk to them when you feel like talking to them, or pick up the phone every time they call, or answer every text message promptly because you're excited and you put down what you're doing to speak to them. Chloe Bailey made the point that if she texts a guy, if she calls a guy, she wants to feel like he's busy, like he's out there doing something, like he's on his purpose. Just because a person is available to you doesn't mean they're available to the world. And you have no idea what the hell a person has going on until you get familiar with them. You can't assume that just because a guy's answering your phone calls that he doesn't have a life, he doesn't have a purpose, he's not driven, he's not ambitious. Like, women make these stupid ass false equivalencies so much about a man's masculinity, his alpha, his leadership, his propensity to earn money or have sex with them in an effective way, just because of how a man might respect them or honor them or cherish them. It's pretty frustrating. And this one in particular irritates me because I'm very genuine. What you see is what you get from me. People who know me know, and I don't play games with people. I am what I am. And if I can't be what I am with you, then I'm going to do something else, right? And I went through a phase where I would play games with women just because I understood it was required. And every time I was too genuine, I was told I was too nice. As if I wasn't on my grind, as if I wasn't on my purpose, as if I wasn't getting my money, as if I wasn't doing other things just because I was available to her when she called, or her when she texted, or because I texted back when I said I would, or I called back when I said I would. A good woman that doesn't require you to pretend to not like her as much as you do is very hard to find. A good woman who will allow you to have a reverence and respect and an honor for her without emasculating you somehow in her mind is hard to find. A good woman who doesn't think you're too nice just because you're nice to her is hard to find. It's funny, 5 minutes after I watched this Chloe Bailey video of her telling whoever this interview was, I can't remember, it's a green flag if a guy is pretty much a shoddy and spotty communicator, I read an email from one of my male subscribers talking about this same thing. He wasn't even talking about the Chloe Bailey thing at first. He had written me the day before, and he was just talking about how it's so hard to find a woman who doesn't require these games. It's exhausting trying to be something he's not when he really just wants to talk to the person he likes, which is weird because women always want to talk to the guy they like when they start to like him. They incessantly want to speak to them. They incessantly want to text him. They always think about him. All of these things are what they genuinely feel. But if a guy beats them to that punch, it's over. He's too nice. It's a wrap. And they need more excitement from someone who's more mysterious. It's so weird how women are excited by disdain. And again, none of this could be true about you. But in a man's mind, if a man likes you and he's experienced this over and over, He believes a good woman is hard to find. My comment section is full of women talking about where are the good men at? Where are the good men at? They're probably those guys that you thought were too nice. I'm going to be honest with you. Those are the guys that you thought were not masculine just because they liked you. You think just because a guy answers your phone calls, he answers everybody's phone calls? What's weird is I remember being about 18, talking to a lot of women at the same time, not having sex with them, but talking to them, getting familiar with them. I remember this strange fact that no matter who the woman was, she responded to me a certain way based on how I acted. Meaning, if I was talking to 5 or 6 different people on the phone at the same time, getting familiar with that amount of women, the women I genuinely didn't like chased me so hard, and the women that I started to like started to fall away. Those women saw my indifference and decided to come for me harder, to pursue me harder. While at the same time, I was being disappointed and being a little bit heartbroken at the women who were not giving me the opportunities and the time. That's why I always say I did pretty well, but I took some lumps too in the dating atmosphere. I didn't get every girl I wanted because as soon as I decided I wanted her, I became too available a lot of times until I started strategically becoming unavailable. I had to do that to get where I wanted with women, just to get close enough to get enough information about them, to get to know them enough to figure out if we were even compatible. And I hated that. I hated being a strategist just to get a woman to like me when all I wanted to do was have conversations, get familiar, figure out where she comes from, learn about her, and then decide if I liked her. I found myself being interested and enthralled with all the mystery. I found myself being programmed by disdain. I didn't like that. So I started refusing to play the game, and I realized that my audience of women is the audience of women that I can speak to whenever I want, who wants to speak to me whenever she wants, who wants me to answer the phone, answer her text message promptly, and I can do that consistency without being emasculated, without being seen as less alpha, without being seen as less of a leader, without being seen as a nice guy, without it being assumed that I can't have it. I'm not good at sex just because I must be desperate because I'm not. Like all of these assumptions and false equivalencies that women make around a man's ability to protect, a man's ability to have sex, a man's ability to lead or be powerful or be influential around people. Like they make a lot of false equivalencies around who a man is based on how available he is to them. And like I said, as much as people ask me where all these good men are, they've met these good men, they've bumped into them, but they didn't like them because they were not spotty enough communicators. They were not strategic enough communicators. They were not absentee enough. They were not neglectful enough. So anyway, my male subscriber wrote me a few messages on Instagram, and he gave me a few voice notes just expressing his frustration with the fact that, like, why can't he just genuinely want to talk to someone who wants to talk to him consistently? Why can't he just genuinely grow? Why can't he just like a woman without being seen as less of a man for it? To men like him, men like me at the time, and millions of other men who watch alpha male programming, who get into red pill content, or who just are fed up with some of the behaviors of women, a good woman is hard to find for this reason. When a man genuinely presents his interest and presents his heart and he beats a woman to the punch, he immediately is disqualified. A good woman who would allow a man to like her and honor her and respect her and want her and crave her and desire her intellectually and emotionally as well as sexually is hard to find. A man could send a girl a nasty text message every 5 minutes of every day and show he's thinking about her with sexuality. She won't think he's less of a man for it. She'll be annoyed. She'll think he's clearly only after one thing, but she won't think he's less of a man for it. But if a man shows her intellectual interest every 5 minutes of the day, oh, he's too nice. He's too much for me. Man shows you emotional interest. Oh, hell no, you can't have that at all. But if a man shows you sexual interest at some of the same rates as some of these other men are showing you emotional interest and intellectual interest, he's just a dog or a player, which equates to your version of masculinity. He's not less of a man. He's not less masculine. He's not too nice. He's not soft. That's a false equivalency. That doesn't tell you who a person is just because they're available to you. And again, this isn't about agreeing or disagreeing. This is a perspective of fed up men who then run to alpha male content to learn how to play games just to deal with women. That's why men go to this shit. Men go to these channels that teach them how to play women and use women and misuse women because they're learning how to be interesting to a woman who doesn't find it interesting that a man just respects her and wants her in ways other than sexually. It is very hard to find women, and I know this from experience, it is very hard to find women who allow you to like them without disqualifying you because you like them, because you're genuine and because you're available, who don't make false equivalencies about your ability to be a great man to her based on your availability to her in the beginning. Men are very frustrated. That's why they watch that bullshit that y'all hate. Y'all hate alpha male programming. Y'all hate red pill content. Y'all hate all of these different creators who teach men how to trick women. But I'm going to be honest, from a man's perspective, women require game sometimes. A lot of times, actually. It's hard to find a woman so above that shit that she just allows you to like her and talks to you as much as you want to talk to her, and vice versa. A man could be absolutely wrong about a lot of these things, but it's our perspective a lot of times. It's what we believe a lot of times. It's how we feel a lot of times. Most good men would prefer not to play games, not to manipulate, not to pretend to be unavailable, not to not answer your phone calls or your text messages, not to neglect you. But it's required by a lot of women to be seen as alpha or a man with options or whatever false equivalency she'll lay down because you were talking to her as much as she wanted to talk to you. My male subscriber was pretty irritated, pretty pissed off. Yet another one bites the dust. And why? Because he's not good enough? Because he's not smart enough? Because he's not an intellect? Because he's not able to protect or provide or have great sex? No. Men are tired of that shit. And that's one of the things that drive them to red pill content and misogynistic content that teaches how to manipulate women. I guess I say all that to say this. If you want a better result in your dating life, if you want to find better men, you have to start responding to better men. And the likelihood of you finding a man who shows you disdain or indifference, who also wants what you want, who also is looking for love in a serious way, is unlikely. Love doesn't follow disdain. Love doesn't follow indifference. Every good man I know that I talk to has experienced this. People always ask me, Kevin, you got brothers, you got friends, do you know anybody, you got some cousins that you can hook us up with that's good men? Every one of those guys I know went through the same thing. Woman after woman after woman after woman deciding they were not neglectful enough to be considered, and therefore they were less of a man, less masculine. I can't tell you how many dozens of women thought I was too nice before I caught on to what was going on and started playing games with them. I chose my wife because I didn't have to play games with her. I didn't have to pretend to not want to talk to her. She wanted to talk to me, and she didn't take off a point for it just because I was available. When she texted me and I text her back, she didn't take off a point for it. When we talked for too many hours, for too many days in a row, she didn't take off a point for it. Or when I was available to talk, she didn't assume that I didn't have anything going on. She didn't make any false equivalencies. She gave me what I gave her. So I know the comment section is going to be full of people disagreeing and shaking their head, and I don't give a fuck. Men have feelings too. Men have anxiety too. And if you're not willing to listen to those types of anxieties, if you're not willing to get a full perspective of where men are coming from, good men, I don't speak for suckers. I don't speak for these weak men. I don't speak for these ass wipes out here. I speak for good men with good intentions. Women say good men are hard to find. I agree. But the dating pool is shrinking because men are changing to become more effective with women. Good men think good women are hard to find because very few women will allow you to like them openly and not hold it against you. That's just how men feel. It's not up for debate. It's just how we feel. Now, I can start teaching those strategies, how to miss calls, how to miss texts, how to neglect strategically, but that leads to other behaviors, other coping mechanisms, and too much access to too many women, which changes the man. So I won't. I'll just keep trying to talk women into allowing genuine men to get a little further so they can get more familiar with these guys before they dismiss them. Anyway, I hope this helps. Follow me at KevHick24 on Instagram. I'll get with y'all later.